Good morning and welcome to this week's business updates from the consulting room. We're going to start this week by looking at jobs, which we know there are more vacancies than there's been for years. 20-year high, 1.1 million jobs out there. But there seems to be a discrepancy between the jobs that are desired by candidates versus the recruiter's job description. So what we're seeing is people who are looking for jobs want flexibility, working from home, whereas only a small proportion of the jobs that are being advertised actually are looking for that flexibility or stating that flexibility is available. I suspect it doesn't mean it isn't available, but they don't want to put that in their job description, or maybe they've not updated their job description since before the pandemic. However, that is going to cause some issues in terms of recruitment if candidates are looking for one set of requirements and the recruiter is looking for something different. So is your job description up to date? Does your job description actually meet what your candidates are saying they're looking for? Worth thinking about. We talk a lot about the environment and your market and how the movement of those can have an impact on your business. The telephone box, there used to be 92,000 telephone boxes around the UK. There's now only 5,000, that is, not 5 literally. And actually what we've seen is that the UK telecoms regulator is actually protecting those 5,000 so that we don't lose them all. I think we've got something like 96%, I think it says on the slide there, 96% of adults now own a mobile phone. But obviously coverage isn't great the length and breadth of the country. So if a phone box has had 52 calls in the year or there's low mobile coverage, then the telecoms are saying they've got to keep them. But what's changed in your industry? Is the environment moving away from something that you've historically used as an income stream? And are you keeping up and aware and ready for those changes? Obviously something that BT have had to get used to over the years. And we've seen the loss of telephone boxes around the UK. So the movement of environment, the changing marketplace, how does that affect and will affect your business in the coming weeks, months and years? So I've talked about inflation and I've talked about interest rate rises, and they're not going away. Grocery inflation is now at 2%, which is the highest since the pandemic, where really the inflation was slightly over-egged by the fact that there weren't the promotions because they were struggling to get supply. So promotions were cut and therefore the pricing went up. We're now seeing, even with promotions and full support in supermarkets, the price is going up. And what we know is that the growing inflation will mean interest rate rises. So as I've talked about before, inflation is going to put pressure on your costs. Interest rate is going to put pressure on your cash flow. What are you doing to ensure, looking forward, how your cash flow copes with interest rate rises, how your business copes with inflation and the costs of goods, and have you got a stable financial base to move forward over the next 12 months? Getting a financial forecast for 2022 is really important, never more so. So something to think about there. Size isn't always important. The small business can beat the big business. The motor industry has just been about the environment and the changing market. The car business historically has some really international players. In America, we've got Ford and General Motors as huge car manufacturers, yet they've been beaten to the punch on electric pickups by a company called Rivian. They've just started trading on the New York Stock Exchange and have had substantial investments. You can see here $11 billion. But they're actually at the forefront of small pickups, SUVs, electric vehicles, and beating the big guys to the punch. So much so that Amazon and Ford have invested in the Rivian business. So just because you're a small business doesn't mean, with the right focus, with the right purpose, understanding your customer, understanding the future, that you can't get ahead of the game and beat some of the big competitors. We've talked before about the Kohler brand, Fritz Kohler in Germany, and now an electric car manufacturer, pickup truck manufacturer who's ahead of the game and actually have forced Ford to come and invest in them rather than Ford leading the market. So great story. Small business can beat big business. And while we're on electric vehicles, you may have seen that Rolls-Royce have got investment from the government and private backers to build small nuclear electricity businesses, plants. So that's something that's really important. Green energy. Nuclear is very clean. Currently 21% of our UK power is from nuclear energy. So getting smaller plants, being closer to the point of which the electricity is needed, another step in the direction of green energy for the UK, and also being self-sufficient in energy. Obviously, some of the challenges at the moment is we're relying on other countries and supply from around the world, which is never great. So an alternative to green. Do you know who your customer is and what if they change? Why do I ask this? Well, Wetherspoons have seen a real increase in cocktail sales and a decline in ales. And that's been driven by the change in their customer base in terms of the people who drink in their pubs. Older drinkers, a bit more wary about coming out, going into groups, are not there, and they're the ones who drink the ales and the beers. The younger, under 35s, a lot more prominent of going out, and they are more about drinking cocktails and spirits. So they've seen a big soar in their sales of vodka and rum. 45% they've grown. So do you know your customers? Do you understand who they are? Do you understand their demographic? Do you know where they come from? And do you understand if the market, if they are changing, if there's anything that will concern them or bring them to stop them coming out to your business? So understanding who your customer is really important, knowing who to target, but also how that demographic will change over time and what impact does that have on your business. Long-term strategy. I know it's been really difficult creating a long-term strategy. A long-term strategy seems like about 6 weeks over the last 18 months. But as we start to see some light at the end of the tunnel, as we understand the way that business and the way that health and society is going to move forward, a long-term strategy is really important. And here's Marks and Spencer's, who have had some really positive results. And if you read into some of the information that they've put out, long-term restructuring, the plan that they've put in place is starting to see fruition. So they understood a few years ago, Marks and Spencer's weren't in a great place. They restructured their business. They refocused where they were aiming for, who their client was, what the products and services that were going to most important to them. And they set a path. And these things don't happen overnight. But if you don't have a path, if you don't understand what success looks like, it's really difficult to achieve. So having a long-term strategy, whether you're small business or big business, is so important. And then having the plan and the time to implement it is really important. So some great example there from Marks and Spencer's. But we should all have a strategy. We should all be looking beyond the next 12 months so that we have an action plan to deliver. And a couple of things, we've got a free finance, 5 finance numbers business owners need to know next Thursday, the 18th of November. And if you're in the Newark and Sherwood district, there's a business growth and resilience programme funded by the council for construction and manufacturing businesses. And that comes with a £5,000 grant as well. So if you'd like more information, please give me a shout. My details are there. And if you'd like to catch up for a one-to-one, be great to have a chat with you. Have a great week. All the very best.